Content warning. This video contains imagery and discussion of blood, violence, bullying, child abuse, and sexual assault. Have you ever been wronged? Chances are you have. Did you seek justice in the ways that our society has deemed appropriate? Were you satisfied by the outcome, or were you dismissed? Did those who wronged you suffer consequences that left you feeling satisfied, or was nothing done about it? And did you ever consider taking matters into your own hands? It is said that justice and vengeance are two sides of the same coin. Vengeance is often viewed as selfish. It's all about personal satisfaction. The methods can be far from moral, and the results can leave you feeling hollow. Justice comes from our social structure. It aims to be fair, focus on rehabilitation, change for the future, and empathy for the wronged party, providing them with closure. But our current world is far from fair. There are people with power and money who consistently buy their way out of ever being held accountable for their misdeeds. "Those who seek revenge must dig two graves" is a quote that is often attributed to Confucius, but there are conflicting reports of whether or not he said that. I have always interpreted this phrase as the act of vengeance kills a part of you, and the guilt will eat away at your soul until your last days. Is that a price you are willing to pay when justice is out of reach? If the answer is yes, then I have the website for you. Jikoku Shoujo, or Hell Girl, was a 2005 horror anime. It was developed by Hiroshi Watanabe, a prolific animator and director who has worked on many classic titles. Most episodes of Hell Girl were self-contained vignettes and would generally go as followed. We would get a glimpse into the life of an individual undergoing some form of terrible hardship. They could be bullied at school, abused by family, stalked or harassed by a co-worker, or a myriad of other things that would drive a person into seeking revenge. They would then come to learn of an urban legend of a mysterious website that can only be accessed at midnight. They would type in the name of their tormentor and would be visited by a young girl with ghostly pale skin, long raven hair, and bright red eyes, wearing a plain dark school uniform.
呼んだでしょ。私はエンマアイ。地獄少女。
I would hand them a straw doll with a red thread tied to the neck and explain to them that all they needed to do to send someone to hell was to untie the thread. However, there is a price that must be paid. Once they condemn their tormentor to hell, their soul will also be bound for hell once their own life is over. The person is then left to contemplate this choice until something so bad happens that drives the individual to the edge. Ai and her companions of yokai, Wanyudo, Honona, and Ren, confront the tormentor and exact revenge on their client's behalf by proceeding to psychologically torture them, demanding that they repent for their actions. They usually don't. And it doesn't matter if they do. I would appear before them and recite her monologue.
闇に惑いし哀れな影よ。人を傷つけ貶めて。罪に溺れ執行のため。いっぺん死んでみる?
She would then ferry their souls to hell.
この恨み。地獄へ流します。
Most episodes would work as morality plays where the bad person would get their comeuppance. I was in full support of the clients exacting vengeance because it was justice for them. The clients usually lacked resources in seeking justice through acceptable means, as their tormentor would often be in a position of power. I felt bad for the clients who would be damned to an eternity of suffering because they were backed into a corner, and in some cases, they only had bad choices to choose from. Pulling the thread gave them relief from suffering. They may have been smiling in the end, but there was a somber mood, a loss. And that sense of loss would be doubled in episodes where the person who was condemned to hell was innocent. There may have been some kind of misunderstanding or an altercation that could have easily been dealt with just communication. And then there were times where the client would be the one completely in the wrong, but be so vindictive that they would condemn a person to hell for daring to cross them. Then there are times where there isn't a reason at all. A random person will send another random person to hell for nothing. Those episodes stood out to me the most because I would still ferry those people to hell like she did all the others.
あなたを地獄へ送っているの。地獄？嘘。どうして私が？なんでなの？誰がこんなことを？知らない。あんな人会ったこともないわ。誰なの？どうしてこんなことを？いやよ、お願い、助けて。お願い、助けて。
Even with the self-contained Case of the Week format, there would be an overarching plot element of each season that would be introduced. In the first season, Hajime Shibata, a freelance journalist that moonlights in blackmailing celebrities, learns of the urban legend and discovers that his daughter Sugumi has a strange telepathic connection with Ai. Together, they try to investigate the client and prevent souls from being taken.
はじめちゃん、やめようよ。追い詰められて地獄少女に頼るしかないような人の邪魔するの、やっぱ良くないよ。
まだそんなこと言ってんのか。
だって。
俺は認めん。復讐なんて絶対にな。
The second season, which is my personal favorite, mostly takes place within a small town called Lovely Hills, where many of the not-so-lovely residents were accessing the website to hell. With so many residents disappearing, the wider community and law enforcement grew suspicious of a young boy called Takuma, who had recently moved to the neighborhood after a string of unfortunate events happened to him that involved the hell correspondence. This season delves into the nature of mob mentality, how rumors can spread and how people will target an outsider to be their scapegoat.
この町こそ地獄なんです。死んだ後に地獄に行くのは仕方ありません。でも生きてる間は、今なら悪魔の子のせいにできますし。
The people that condemned others to hell bear the brand of their actions on their chests. They can't escape what they did. And deep down, they fear being ostracized if anyone knew. So they point the finger the most and yell the loudest.
この刑事、悪魔の子と結託して我々を消そうとしてるぞ。
As for the titular character, just exactly who is she? Who is Ai Enma? When we first meet Ai, she's a mysterious figure. We don't know whether she is a ghost, a demon, or a god of vengeance. She lives in a realm of eternal twilight with an old woman who she calls grandmother that we never see. Compared to her assistant, she's extremely quiet and stoic, with a haunting gaze and monotone voice devoid of any emotion. We never see this guise of hers slip until near the end of season 1 as her backstory is finally revealed. Major spoiler warning, feel free to skip ahead. I was once just a girl that lived in a small mountain village in the 1600s, who was bullied by villagers for being odd. I was later chosen by the village elders to be the latest ritual sacrifice to the mountain god to ensure a bountiful harvest. Her parents refused but were overruled, but they loved their daughter and could not let her die alone on the mountain, cold and afraid, so they asked Ai's only friend, her cousin Sentaro, to sneak up to the mountain to give her food and supplies to survive in secret. When the villagers' crops failed, they grew suspicious when they saw Sentaro sneaking up the mountain. They followed him and discovered that Ai was still alive. To appease the mountain god, the villagers killed Ai's parents and buried Ai alive and forced Sentaro to be the one to dump the first mounds of dirt on her. Ai's rage was enough to sustain her life, or maybe she had some latent supernatural ability that helped her cheat death. Regardless, she was able to escape her grave and exact a fiery revenge on the villagers. Her actions were noticed by the Master of Hell, who took the form of a spider with strange markings. He told Ai that he holds the souls of her parents, and if she doesn't want them to suffer, she must exact vengeance on the behalf of mortals and deliver their souls to him. I have always speculated that the mountain god that the villagers were sacrificing their children to was actually the god of hell, and when he did not receive his sacrifice, he made sure that the one who escaped from him and burned his worshippers would forever be in service to him. Ai was made to detach herself from humanity in order to see the very worst of it. She's one of the few stoic characters that I feel are done well, where she doesn't come off as boring and one-dimensional. Whenever her gaze lingered on an object or a person, it would allude to something buried deep within her. Whenever she said anything that was outside of her usual monologue or addressing her grandmother, it made you sit up and listen intently.
殺そうというの。時を超えてまたあの時のように。私は全てを受け止めたというのに。私は殺されたりしない。
I first learned of the series via Gaia Online. I think they may have had a partnership with Funimation because newly dubbed anime would premiere there. It's also where I first learned of Peach Girl.
Yes, I'm all.
Hellgirl stood out from the other horror anime out at the time by following a more episodic or even procedural format that people are more accustomed to seeing with live-action supernatural shows. It had this dark, bleak and mysterious tone that was much more slower paced. It also didn't rely heavily on blood and gore. Don't get me wrong, it didn't shy away from blood and scary moments, but it wasn't gratuitous. There wasn't an underlying delight in showcasing the suffering of the people. The camera wouldn't linger too long on a face twisted in agony. There was more of a focus on the psychological thriller aspect of it all. Hellgirl chose to explore and focus on the darkness and evils that humans can inflict upon each other on an interpersonal level, and how vengeance can be an unending cycle. An eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. It was also extremely contemporary. From the mid-90s, home computers became more commonplace in the average household, and by the mid-2000s, it was expected for teenagers to have a PC in their bedroom, and with broadband internet fully replacing dial-up, the faster connection saw the expansion of the online world, which felt incredibly vast and unknown. The internet was a lot less centralized back then. By simply clicking on a different web ring and banner, you could easily end up in a vastly different website that you've never even heard of before. It was an endless sea of personalized websites, many of which were hosted by Angel Fire or GeoCities. With numerous message boards and chat rooms to choose from, creepypastas were becoming a thing, and by 2005, there were urban legends that originated on the internet that were already a decade old. Around this time, techno-horror movies like Ringu, The Ring, and Cairo, Pulse, had gained popularity. These movies depicted ghosts haunting and disrupting our lines of communication. Ai has been an agent of vengeance for centuries. The urban legend about her never died. It changed just as she did, adapting with the times as our forms of communications changed too, starting off with Enma tablets, then newspapers, and finally settling in the most powerful form of communication that has been able to reach millions of people, the internet. Just like chain letters became chain emails and chain DMs. While researching, I discovered that Japan has had a very long and interesting history with chain letters and emails, which has given me greater cultural context for Ringu. Hellgirl ran for 3 seasons from 2005 to 2009. It had a manga adaptation with art by Miyuki Eto that ran in Nakayoshi for several years. There was a live-action TV drama in 2006, a Hellgirl video game for the PS2 and Nintendo DS. The anime then came back for a 4th season with 6 new episodes and 6 reimagined previous episodes in 2017, and in 2019 there was a live-action movie starring Tina Tamashiro. Despite all this media, Hellgirl is seldomly brought up in the topic of horror anime series. I had always assumed it was a lot more popular than what it was back then. Ai's image would be used as avatars and signatures all over anime message boards and forums. Looking back, it was most likely that people were drawn to Ai's striking design by Mariko Oka than actually watching the show. Hellgirl's underrated status is most likely due to it being inaccessible. The first season was licensed by Funimation, who also produced the English dub, which is a very good dub, by the way.
How come she's such a bitch to me now? I'm sick of this shit. Have fun in hell, bitch!
Season 2 and 3 were licensed under Sentai Filmworks. Later, Funimation will then drop the rights for streaming and DVD, and then Aniplex of America would step in to license the 4th season. Currently, Season 4 is the only season that's officially available for streaming on Amazon Prime and Crunchyroll, meaning that if you wanted to watch Hellgirl from the beginning, then you would have to seek out a DVD or acquire it through other means. It's unfortunate, as Hell Girl is one of the few handful of shoujo horror anime that is much more accessible than others. Yes, it's a shoujo because the manga adaptation ran in Nakayoshi. I really hope that sometime in the near future, Aniplex of America can acquire the license for the full series and an English dub can be produced for seasons 2 to 4. If Hell Girl was brought back for a 5th season, I wonder what changes would be made to reflect the times. Season 4 was quite different compared to the previous 3 due to the 8-year gap between them. The internet of 2017 is quite different to the internet of 2025, so how would Hell Girl adapt? Yeah, the website would be up, but I can't help but think that I and friends would be pestered by Twitch streamers effing around the website for fun. Oh, but what if a mysterious app just appeared on your phone? That'd be pretty scary. I didn't even mention how every single opening song is cold. I love them all, but season 2 and 4, I never skip the intro. So, for spooky season, I've been going through the list of defunct shoujo horror magazines, Monthly Halloween, Horror M, and Suspiria, to find any manga that I've missed out on and see if they have any anime adaptations. One of them is Vampire Princess Miu. I have seen screen caps of this before in the past, but nobody has ever put a source, so I never knew where it was from. And looking into it, the manga ran for 10 volumes and it had a bunch of sequels and spin-offs that are still ongoing, some of them. It also had a 4-part OVA and a 26-episode TV anime. It's on YouTube and so is the live-action Hell Girl TV show. Also, shout out to the Hell Girl fandom, especially the Enma cosplayers. I know who you're cosplaying, even though others don't. Thank you to everyone for helping me reach 10k plus subscribers. Wow, what a delight. And thank you to my wonderful patrons, Cheyenne Lynn, Ariana Hook, Kemi, Mariah, Y Zaid, Jill Finns, Desin Hill Richard Campbell, Critica, Hyphenated, Go Love, Amrit S, Isabel A. Ledger, Mapertuous, Super Keeg, Mox, and Sunshine. If you want access to early videos and exclusive videos and other stuff, then consider joining. I recently uploaded a video about the 2022 Jeepers Creepers reboot. Alright, I need to make sure I'm not sent to hell after I typed in my own name.